Sanibonani, Linjani, Magalini. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Young and Dynamic. We're super excited to be hosting you today, and we are live from the Southern region. So I would love to welcome our Dynamites, our HLF and Delta staffs, and our executives who are connected from all over the world. Thank you so much for connecting with us. My name is Eugene Mashanda. I'm a student at NAS and I will be your host for this session. So a few housekeeping issues. Number one, please do make sure that you have your notepad, your pen, your iPad to take down notes because a leader always carries a notebook to their meetings. Please also make sure that your mics are muted at all times unless the facilitator asks you to unmute. Also make sure that when you do leave the room, your video is switched off so that, and then you can always switch it on when you come back. And let us also make use of the chat box. It is there for our comments, our questions, our emojis, and all that good stuff. So is there anyone who would love to remind me of what we talked about in last week's session? If you do want to remind, please do raise your hand. Anyone to remind me of what we talked about last week? Seems like there's no one. So yeah, last week's session, we talked about sexual violence support and we were basically detailing on how you should go about it when if you do find yourself in a situation where you are violated sexually. So at this point in time, I'm going to hand this over to Becky Temba. He's going to give us our opening prayer. So over to you, Becky.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be leading prayer. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before your throne this afternoon. May you be us as we are about to begin this session, Lord God. May you open our minds so that we grasp whatever we are being taught here, and may we use this may we use the knowledge that we get here, Lord God, to make us better people, to make us better individuals out there in the society. May we be a blessing to other people that are out there. May we show that we are different people. Jesus' mighty name. Thank you for everything that you have done for us in this day. Bless each and every family that's represented in this place. Amen.
Okay, so thank you, Becky, for that wonderful prayer. At this moment in time, I would love to congratulate the MSU students or graduates who graduated yesterday. We want to say to you, Makorokoto Amhlope, well done. And this is just the beginning of your career. So congratulations to our graduates, our HLF scholars. So this week's session is called Let's Talk, and it is going to be quite interactive. So at this point, I'm going to give you a rundown of who our presenters are going to be. So we have Lodwin Rimire, who is a pharmacy part 2 student and an HLF scholar at UZ. He is a Star Leadership Academy alumni 2019, and he graduated with a 7th Leader of the Year award. He proceeded to do his A-levels at Watershed College. Mr. Lodwin is currently Mr. Albinism Zimbabwe and an aspiring presidential candidate for 2023 SRC. And he will be joined by Auntie Rejoice Nharaunda from Gender and Advocacy High Life Foundation. So please do feel free to interact with the facilitators. Over to you, Auntie Rejoice.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing? I saw a hand up. Leroy, you had your hand up. And I think you were about to answer the question that had been asked about last week, or did you have something to say? Leroy, would you like the opportunity to say something before we start? Or has the moment passed?
Auntie.
Okay, so maybe the moment has passed. So today is the 25th of November. And the 25th of November is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. And today we are adding on to that is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, Girls, Men, and Boys, because we are not leaving anyone behind in this conversation, okay? And to get us started on this conversation, you know, I'm praying for him, and I'm rooting for him, and I'm hoping that very soon we'll be able to openly say, President Lodwin, and be clapping and celebrating his excellence. Why am I saying that, Lodwin? Do you want to just tell everybody what you're up to concerning the presidency before we get into our conversation?
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew Joe, for the opportunity. So, like what the MC has said, my name is Lodwin Remire, and I'm a Pharmacy 2 student and also contesting for presidency. And also, just to answer to the question you asked, Andrew Joe, I've realized that it's high time we do not just, become crybabies or just, complain when things and also policies and also just rules which does not support our own are put into place. But I believe it's a high time that we take up these positions. I believe it's a high time as young dynamites, as higher life scholarship and beneficiaries, we actually take part in leadership and begin to implement things that promote change and also development.
The president has spoken. Very wise words, Mr. Lodwin. Yes, we must be the change that we want to see. Rumbidzai, you've got your hand up. Would you like to say something? Please allow Rumbidzai to unmute and speak. Rumbidzai Kamba, Kwekwe Polly. Rumbi, you've got your hand up. Would you like to unmute? Okay, so maybe whilst we're waiting for Rumbi to find her mute button and or maybe just type into the chat box. Lodwin, you and I are going to have a conversation today. And the conversation that we're about to have is one that I hope will get everybody else to join into the conversation, to participate. So I want to see the chat box on fire. The people that contribute the most during today's session, I'm trying to show off my t-shirt, we're going to have, I'm not sure how many t-shirts Ruba is willing to give away today. And Lodwin, I'm so sorry, I should have delivered yours, but it will be delivered. So Ruba, please make sure
I'm waiting for it.
That Lodwin gets his. But you see, so we've got these t-shirts that are available to be given away. Like I was saying, today is International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Men, girls and boys, because we are not leaving anyone behind. And it marks the beginning of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And gender is not female or male, okay? Gender is everyone. And so this conversation is about everybody. This conversation is going to touch on the issues that impact everybody. And this conversation is going to be one where we take away solutions that have been created by all body. Okay, there's 278 of us who are logged in right now. So I'm expecting that there will be 284, 85 comments coming through as we go right through the conversation today. Lodwin, we, as Gender and Advocacy, we have been going around and meeting with you guys in your different spaces. We've been to UZ, we've been to Mazoe, we've been to Mount Darwin, we've been to Bindura, we've been to Mutare, we've been to Marondera. I know that there are areas where we still need to come, Midlands, Bulawayo, that end, we are coming. So we have not forgotten you, we are still on our way. But on these conversations that we've been having with young people, you've been sharing some things. And when we sat down, you and I, for this conversation, we thought that we would have this share some of the things that you guys are experiencing. We had a powerful time during our staff meeting yesterday as ILI Foundation. when a young woman came through and shared some of the experiences that tertiary young women are experiencing. And so today, my first question to you, Lordwin, is to just give us an overview of the issues that the ladies are facing in tertiary institutions.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew, for that opportunity. Allow me to say this. Besides coronavirus, at the University of Zimbabwe or as tertiary university, there's actually a pandemic. People call it Mujolo pandemic, but at UZ, it is actually exceeded from just being a Mujolo pandemic to be actually an Amablesa pandemic. And it's really one of the problems that we are actually facing, especially for our girls at the University of Zimbabwe. By what do I mean by Amablesa pandemic? We are saying when you actually come to this institution, when you roll over into university, usually we are coming from different backgrounds. Some of us, we are coming from well-off families. Some of us are coming from average, and some of our students from not so well-off families. So when you come to a tertiary education, when you come to university, usually what happens is you meet different people, and actually that pressure, that transition from your environment, your self environment that you're used to, transitioning into university, there is pressure coming from all over. There is pressure of dressing, pressure of other girls getting gifts, flowers, other girls getting money, other girls being given money by blessers. And at the end of the day, even if when you are principled, Shakaita say, at the end of the day, you are actually pressured and forced into actually engaging in these things. And today, as we are talking about, gender-based violence, usually when you are dealing with an older man, sometimes there is a song and a gem usually which just means you just have to please someone who is actually feeding you. What that song means is usually you don't really have a right to your body. You don't really have a right to say things which are not okay with you. So at the end of the day, you're actually forced to succumb to that pressure. You're actually forced to succumb to what these blessers or these older men will be requesting from you. So at the end of the day, our girls are falling prey to unprotected sex, falling prey to these armor blessers, because actually the environment itself is really hostile. The environment itself, no matter how principled you are really forced to kind of, look good. You are forced to dress well. You are forced to look as if you got everything, especially the pressure of social media. Other girls are posting each and every day. They are wearing Gucci, they are wearing Versace. So at the end of the day, that pressure really forces our girls into engaging into armor blesser pandemic. And this is one of the main issues that we are really facing at the University of Zimbabwe and as tertiary education students.
Okay, let's stop there. Camilla, you said something in the chat room. Would you like to just unmute and share what you wrote in the chat box? Camilla Mtima. Was it Mtima? Yes. Camilla, come on, guys. We don't have a lot of time. We want to go through these issues and we want to find solutions for them by the time we're done.
Okay. Good afternoon, Auntie Joyce.
Yes, Camilla.
Okay, so what I was basically trying to say is that these Ama Blesser people, they use money as a coercion or as a form of persuasion for the girls. So when the girls see the Obamas flashing in front of them, then they are forced to succumb to the Ama Blessers, considering that peer pressure, you need this, or maybe boarding house, you need a diet better, so then in a way you are forced to succumb to that. And then maybe on campus, campus and then iwewe kumba wakabva nemadresi marokwe marefu refu uda kupfekawo mamini mama vari kuti mwana usapfeke mamini or hasi kukupa mari, and then you in the end you are forced to succumb to that because of peer pressure. Basically that's what I was just trying to say.
Thank you so much. So guys, is the mini issue, so you can't look nice in a long dress? Please tell me. Someone type in the chat box. Someone says, I feel like peer pressure seeing your peers having the nice things leads you to taking desperate measures. So
Yeah.
when you're wearing a long skirt, tell me, Lordwin, from a man's eyes. Yes.
Honestly speaking, sometimes you think, especially when you're still at home, you think that wearing a long dress, it will be nice, you'll be looking good. But when you're on campus, the problem is everyone would be wearing short dresses. And so at the end of the day, you are forced to think as if wearing long dresses is actually, you're still living in the Stone Age or Iron Age. So you need to upgrade. So at the end of the day, that pressure really forces you to be just like everyone.
Wow. Yes, Mavura and Chamukuza, please go ahead. I'm a Stone Age. Is it a Stone Age pandemic? Mavura and Chamukuza, please. You've got your hand up. So as a man, with men's eyes, do you think it's more attractive for ladies to wear shorter, I don't, and I'm putting you on the spot, but you are a man, right? You are a man.
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that women look better in shorter dresses?
Okay. I'm going to address this in a two-way platform.
Come on, guys, help him. Come out there and say
I
something.
can I can say especially there's a term that we call, we are not looking for marriage at the moment. It's actually a saying that we usually say on campus, that we are not looking for marriage on campus. And I'm sure most of the boys in here will agree with me that that quote is being used frequently. So what do we mean by saying we are not looking for marriage on campus? What happens is, let's say it's actually another pressure that our girls are facing. Because let's say you are wearing long dresses. The picture it gives is you are that decent girl, you are only waiting for marriage. You're not even looking into engage in other things. I have to be honest, you are not willing to engage in, sex before marriage. But if boys see some other girls, wearing short bum shorts, short dresses, the assumption is, please don't quote me wrong, the assumption is you are a free and an outgoing person. So it's a bit easier for us. And you know how it is when we are really affected by what we see. What we see can actually change the perspective and make us run mad. So at the end of the day, boys are attracted to girls who are wearing short dresses, especially on campus. Unless maybe when you are now in part 4, usually you're now looking for someone to settle down with. Those are the times when you'll be looking for someone who is decent. So the problem is another, as girls now, let's say you're now you're that girl who has been wearing long dresses, you are that decent, you don't even wear short dress. At the end of the day, you end up not having boys coming to you, to propose, or should I say the traction actually lowers down, because boys are just looking for people to play with, or for people to just have a good time with. So these are some of the challenges that girls and boys as well we are facing on campus.
I saw a very interesting comment here. Now, I met with some ladies at the University of Zimbabwe last week, and we had this conversation about looking for marriage. Do you hear what the boys are saying? They are not looking for marriage, okay? So if there's something that you're going to take away from today, remember, they're not looking for wives. I told you, somebody, do you know what someone said to me in that meeting? Hey, I believe, Auntie Rijo, that, even when you're in part 1, you can then just meet your soulmate, and you can meet the man of your dreams, and then you will just date right through university, and then you just date that one guy, and then you get married and live happily ever after. That's what someone said in that meeting. I was there myself. That's not true.
I wouldn't want to say she is wrong, but let me put this statistic out there. The possibility of that happening, it's 1%. I would like to believe most of the boys in here are actually agreeing with you and are saying "Famba, Murungu, Famba," because that's the truth.
Explain Famba Murungu Famba for me. Tell me.
Okay, like what I said, we're actually in a period of campaigning for this president that I've been talking about. So this is one of the term that is mostly being used by the students and by our supporters. They are only saying Famba Murungu Buera Famba. So I'm actually used to saying this frequently.
Wonderful. Aiwa Famba Murungu Famba. Now, somebody said in here that something about girls being vendors. Did anyone see that comment? There was something about girls being vendors. They need to put it out there. Can we unpack that for a little bit before we move on?
Okay.
Anzi, someone please help me to find that comment. That said something about girls being vendors, and so they need to lay it all out so that it can be seen and bought. Did anyone see that? Please find it. When you find it, please post it. Or just say, yes, Tinotenda, you've got your hand up. Tinotenda and then Lisa. Okay, Lisa, please go ahead because I think Tinotenda is struggling to unmute. Lisa, please unmute. Lisa, you've got your hand up. Are you going to unmute?
Oh, okay, apologies. I was saying to unmute. But the quote was vendors out there.
What did it say?
Hi, Auntie Joyce.
Yes.
I found the comment
Mm-hmm.
and it's saying girls are vendors out there. They need to display the products.
Right, girls. Can we have comments to that? Girls are vendors out there. They need to what?
To display the products.
To display the products. Girls?
Yes.
You are vendors. Did you know that you are market women? That's what they are calling you. And you are displaying the products. That's what you appear like when you are displaying the products. I want to see the girls coming through. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's hear you. Let's respond. Are you vendors displaying the products? Tinotenda, your hand is up again. Can you unmute and go ahead?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
So I think when we say ladies are basically vendors, the truth of the matter is, as gentlemen, we don't notice people that are dressed modestly. It is good socially, it is good from every other point of reasoning. But the truth of the matter is, those that dress in a way that's more revealing are noticed better than the ones that dress modestly. This is because of how men are wired generally. It's not a justification or anything, but I think men are generally wired to react sexually to certain issues, such as dressing, the way someone speaks, certain gestures. Men generally respond to that. So because of the social media and internet trends of the day, most ladies have taken to adopt certain dressing, certain gestures, certain speech, so that they get a chance with the men.
Thank you very much for that comment. Any reactions? We'll have Ruth followed by Walker. Ruth followed by Walker. Please unmute and go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Auntie. I would like to argue Banye Puti, we are vendors. Yeah, we might be vendors, but well-covered products attract decent consumers. Because we found Kuti, you can't be married or you are naked in the streets. Trust me, no one gonna take you in. But if you're well dressed and modest, you attract very good customers. Thank you.
So you are agreeing, before you go, are you agreeing with the concept of being called a product? You are agreeing with being called a product? Something on sale to be picked up at a price. Okay.
Yeah. According to our patriarchal societies and what we grew up knowing, like we should be paid lobola for, like something like that. We are treated like commodities naturally. Our society treats us like commodities.
Okay, so you are just responding in that context.
Yes.
Okay. Walker, please go ahead. Yes, I'll come back to you, Lordwin. Let's hear Walker and then back to you, President Lordwin. Walker? Okay, Lordwin, go ahead whilst Walker is coming back on board.
I actually just wanted to throw out these statistics to everybody. That it has been discovered that on TikTok, I know these days most people are actually, spending most of their times on TikTok. So it has been discovered that people with the most views, most of them, especially girls with the most views, trust me, this is not from me, but it's actually statistics which is actually out there on the internet. So it has been discovered that most girls who have the most views and most followers, usually they are dressing in a way that actually appeal to men. And usually the most followers of those people are actually men who are just interested in the view. So yeah, it only shows that at the end of the day, boys are only attracted, or they are mainly attracted with what they see. Like what our brother said, that usually men are forced to think and also to react sexually to these sisters of ours. And you know what? The most, it's actually cruel to say this, but honestly speaking, I've once come across a certain statement, or should I say a post, which was saying we don't really want to meet these girls when they are in there. I found Jesus here, yet they've been enjoying life to the fullest. So it's actually cruel to the girls, because what are we saying? As the boys or as the men, in fact, as the society, we are giving our girls this pressure, to go out there. We are giving girls to dress in a way that will please us. But at the end of the day, we end up not wanting the same girls that we are saying we want them to dress in a way that is more revealing. There's a song by Baba Harare. I would like to believe some of you have come across it, which says, I'll say it in Shona, then I'll translate, which literally says, varume munoda vakadzi mumabhawazi, asi hamudi kuroora the same wives, munoda kuti varoorwe nani ivavo. It literally means that men want to have girls who do not dress decently when we are going out to chill, when we are going out to party. But at the end of the day, no man wants that type of a lady as his wife or as the mother of his kids. So at the end of the day, it's really a problem that needs to be looked into.
Wow. Takunda, do you want to come in? Takunda and then Owen.
Hello.
Yes, we can
Can
hear
you
you. Yes.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that we have is this one, our society, or what we've been living through this whole world, or since this whole time. We've been living under the principle that a woman is a product. I disagree very strong on that fact, because I think she's just a man just like us. She has a will that she can choose what to become. So just because she has been told to think like a product, she behaves like one. So she just have to make sure that she's a product. She has to make sure that she's the best product on the market. So she's trying to make a self competence on the market. It's a product which wants to prove its competence on the market. So she dresses, she wears short skirts. That's how it's going. But it's the problem of our society, how we've made things to be all right. Women is a product, we can buy them. Lobola is why. What are we doing? Some of you is from the background. Its foundation is wrong. let's just say this one. It's a partnership, and it's just let's just say this one. Let's say that's why you are marrying two people. Can it be a decision that two people make without paying for someone? When you have everything that you pay for, it belongs to you. That is what I think.
It becomes your property. Interesting. You know what? I think one of these days we should have a conversation on this, because this is about the third or fourth time that I've seen just today the issue of RORA coming up. So it's a whole conversation that we should have for another day. Someone else had their hand up. Owen, what would you like to say?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sure you can hear me. You know, myself, I'm a bit worried. I would want to take a view from the Eurocentric view and the Afrocentric view. You know, I think as a nation, we embraced a very wrong hashtag, very wrong, trust me, Auntie, because we acknowledge that hair choice is a choice. But in most of the circumstances, they literally come to lectures clothed in dress close to nothing. But I think it goes back now. That's why I said that's the Eurocentric. Kufamba munhu asonyatsotsveka is common in the Americas. But now from the Afrocentric view, I think it is the responsibility of a well-groomed mother who was not hurt and damaged in a child upbringing to say kumwana wake to a daughter, in this house we dress properly, we cover our thighs and we cover our chest properly, so that when women now come to the rest of the world where everyone is, they dress in a way that does not infringe on our rights. Because remember, we are focusing too much on women being victims of gender, of sexual harassment, without really actually maybe taking a time to say, please, our sisters, try to dress. I think they just look nice when they dress and they look way too inappropriate. But then the moment an uncivilized person wants to make a comment, it becomes sexual harassment. But a lot of rights are being infringed here. Of course, I'm putting a disclaimer. I'm not tolerating those that harass our women, whatever they address, but I'm also appealing to our sisters to say, please, let's dress. In short, I'm just trying to say, thank you.
So you know what? I want to talk about this a little bit before we move on, because every right comes with a responsibility. Okay? We have the right to autonomy of our bodies. This is my body. It's up to me whether I want to wear a cap, whether I want to wear earrings, how I want to wear my hair, what I want to wear. I've got the right to do that. But I think within that have a responsibility to preserve the other person's rights, even in how I am presenting myself. I just want to throw it out there. So the sentiment that I'm hearing coming out is that because of how someone dresses, someone is going to act one way. Is it up to the one who is dressing to control the person who is going to react to them? Or is it up to the person who is reacting to control their own reactions? How do we reconcile that? I think that's a very critical conversation that we might want to touch on for just a few minutes. Rua, you've got your hand up. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I put my hand up just to speak to what you're describing now. I do think that there are aspects of it where we do have to respect the person next to us, of course, because we live in a world where we should be community-based, so we should be cognizant of how we present ourselves to others. But I do also think that it's our responsibility as individuals to control how we behave. There shouldn't be any sort of dressing that would make you act in a specific way. And we can't use that as excuses, because that's often used, especially in cases of sexual assault and things like that, where people try to point to, oh, but what were you wearing and things like that. It can then leak into victim blaming, and it can then just perpetuate these systems that we're trying to dismantle now, where violence is perpetuated against people because, oh, well, you looked this way, so you must have wanted this. So what we want to do is make sure we don't double down on that type of thinking, because we can then create more danger in trying to help. We might actually find ourselves on the wrong end. So we do need to acknowledge that when we're dressing, we're presenting ourselves to the world, of course. So there needs to be a level of understanding that how you're dressing can affect how people perceive you, but it shouldn't affect the things that happen to you in terms of your safety. It should have no bearing on whether or not you can walk down the road or anything like that. You should be safe at all times, but you should understand that people might think certain things about you. I just think I want to double down on it doesn't give anyone the right to act in a certain way. Your thoughts are your own, but you shouldn't impose them on someone else because you don't agree with how they've presented. So that's just the main thing I wanted to put across. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruba, for that point. This is such a hot point. I don't know if we should move on from it, but maybe, Auntie Chinga, are you on board? Are you on? Are you logged in? Because I'd like to hear a legal perspective to this, so that we can sort of park this one and move on to the next point. I think I'd like to touch on something that's affecting the boys, because we are very quickly running out of time. Auntie Chinga, are you here?
Yes, I am. And I actually flagged that comment that dress or the lack of it could be the cause of sexual harassment. And what we would want our young men to know is that it's probably not a defense, and I haven't come across a case where it's actually mitigation that the girl was inappropriately dressed. The issue is about consent, and dressing or lack of it or none of it doesn't equal consent. So just to protect our young men, that if anything happens and if this girl raises rubble, then you may not use their dress the way they were addressed as a defense, and definitely not even in mitigation if you are convicted. So we need to protect ourselves, but we also need for the girls to be mindful of our physiological features and how they are different from men and how men perceive us. Somebody said that we are actually different even in terms of our mindset. We may be different in terms of perception, only how we view things, but it's about self-control.
I just want to reinforce the issue of consent whilst we are there, Auntie Chinga. So Auntie Chinga is our legal expert in the Gender and Advocacy Department. She has sat in the courtroom. She's a prosecutor. She's been a magistrate. She's a lawyer. So she knows these things. So if someone came into your courtroom, Auntie Chinga, and they had reported that they were raped, and then the person that raped them came and said, "Oh, I raped her because she was wearing a bum short and I could see her inside leg measurement. That's why I raped her, because she was walking around half naked." What would happen in your courtroom?
Like I said, it's actually not a defense. If you were to go to a lawyer to seek the services of a lawyer after somebody has raised a charge of rape against you, you can't say it's because of the way they were dressed. And even when we talk about the mindset, think of cases that we've had of men who raped 4-year-olds. One case that I came across was of a man who raped a baby who was 6 months old. So it's not about dress, unless you say men then are attracted to diapers. So or the little pants or those little suits that the babies wear. So it's really not a defense. So we need to start speaking about issues that affect us. And as girls, we're saying the pressure is actually to look attractive to men. It's not to attract those of their sex, maybe in very few circumstances, but it's about to attract those of the opposite sex. So what I would advise the young men is now to come up with a different rhetoric, that we are not attracted to that. We are attracted to your mind, because it's not about how you look. How you look may actually be temporary, but we are attracted to your mind. We are attracted to your love for mankind, your love for Christ, your love for creation.
Thank you very much, Auntie Chinga. Before I let you go this time round, so do we have an idea of what might, if somebody was convicted of rape, for example, what does what sort of terms? What sort of convictions? What sort of sentences are we looking at, roughly?
Okay, if you are convicted of rape, rape pertains to having sexual intercourse without the consent of the other person with female. That is a man against a female. If it's a man who then forces himself on another man, it's not called sodomy. If I know people use the term sodomy loosely, but it's called aggravated indecent assault. So rape and aggravated indecent assault attract the same sentence, and the maximum sentence that one can get is life imprisonment. Generally, magistrates actually sentence to people to not anything below 10 years. So if there are also aggravating features, for instance, you have used a weapon, for instance, you are related to this child and they look to you for their care and protection, the sentence could actually be higher. Most magistrates sentence to 20 years per charge. So if somebody brings in 5 charges against you, that is where you are said to have raped them 5 times even within a day, it means also that you can actually go to jail or to prison for a maximum of 100 years. So we need to be cautious. The sentence is always custodial. You never get a non-custodial sentence where you are convicted of rape unless you are convicted of a lesser offense, which may be indecent assault, or where the person is a minor and they consented. But usually it's custodial. You run the risk of going to jail. So my advice to the young men is, if you come across somebody who is wearing a mini and you get attracted, run with your life.
So I think that's a nice place for us to leave this particular issue. Okay, it does not matter what they were wearing. Bottom line, minimum 10 years, maximum depends on the number of times that you are convicted upon. So if they reported that you raped them 10 times, you are probably looking at 10 times 10 or something like that. I just wanted to put it out there so that we now begin to rewire our minds in terms of what women wear, and know that it does not matter if she was walking in front of you naked. You have no right to touch her body. And if you do, and if she reports you, if you rape her and she reports you or him, okay. So I want to very quickly in 1 minute, Oti, please unmute. I want you to talk about the term our women. Whose women are they? And then we move on, whilst you're getting ready, President Lodwin, with just one issue that men are facing in the tertiary institutions. And then maybe we can continue next week. But Oti, this our women thing, let's talk about it very quickly. Otilia. We've lost Otilia.
Hi, Auntie Rejoice, I'm here.
Yes.
Good. I'm here, Auntie Rejoice.
Yes, you mentioned something about our women harassing our women, and I think that's where the issue is. Can you comment on that, please? Can you elaborate?
Okay, please just hold on. I'm just trying to reduce the volume here. My daughter's.
Okay, so whilst Otilia is okay, I think she's back. Okay, whilst Otilia, okay, there you go.
I'm back. Okay, so my issue is, he said harassing our women already makes us sound like we are possessions to men. We are not. We are separate. We are entities. God created us to be women. You cannot say our women. We belong to ourselves. We belong to God. The moment somebody starts saying our women, already you're seeing us as possessions. You're seeing us as, you could treat us and do whatever you want with us. We are actually women. We have our own minds. We can do our own things. We don't need anybody to be claiming us. We can claim ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Oti. President Lodwin, what one issue do you want to bring up that our men have? I'm so sorry, everybody that has your hand up, please type in the chat box and we'll come back to these questions. So everybody that has your hand up, please go to the chat room. Yes, the one issue that our boys are facing.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew Joe. One of the major challenges our boys are facing on campus is actually the pressure to have multiple sexual partners. You know, when I say it sounds so wrong, but honestly, these are the kind of the pressure that boys are facing. Because as boys, they tend to think that, when you're having, many girls, flocking in your room each and every time, each and every hour, you're having a different girl. At the end of the day, they hype it so much, especially in tertiary education, to an extent that usually other boys, other men on campus, you are now actually feeling the pressure as if having just one girl to yourself is not enough. Being in a relationship where you just have one girl is not actually enough, and it's actually, a downgrade. So at the end of the day, our boys are forced into engaging in having multiple sexual partners. And at the end of the day, we end up having issues of STIs, we end up having issues of, HIV and AIDS. And at the end of the day, some of our boys, again, they are not even in the capacity to speak out. Because at the end of the day, we have been preaching about how our boys need to actually stand for themselves now, to speak about mental issues, to speak about, just being speaking your opinion out there. So at the end of the day, that issue is really affecting us, and it also forces boys to kind of engage in other things like drug and substance abuse, because now you cannot speak out. Now the pressure is mounting from other boys who thinks we are not being manly enough. So this is the main problem that the boys are facing on campus. And rejoice.
Right, boys, let's hear you. Share, tell us about this push for you to have multiple girls. And when you're having sex with these girls, are you using protection? Are they using protection, President? Are there condoms available on campus?
Yes, condoms might be available. But another thing, there is a narrative which is actually populating on campus that it's not really wise to test a lollipop whilst it's still covered by a paper. I have to be blunt as possible so that we kind of address these issues. So because of that narrative, we end up having some boys risking their life engaging in this sexual intercourse without using protection, because of that narrative, because of that line that is actually being used on campus. So some of them are using protection, but we have a number of our boys who are engaging in sex without using protection, and they ended up contracting STIs, contracting HIV and AIDS, and at the end of the day, it's really a problem which is affecting our boys.
Sure. I don't usually run out of words.
I know it's hard to take in, but that's the reality of the matter.
So is it, guys, you sweets must be eaten out of the paper. Explain this. No, I'm not giving up. Camilla, I'm not giving up. I don't give up. But I just, for a moment there, I was overwhelmed. Let's talk about this, because I think we have established that you guys, not you, but the young people in tertiary institutions are having sex, right? But we are now also establishing this issue that they may just be unprotected sex going on out there because people don't want to eat sweets in papers. Is that what I'm hearing? And these are multiple sweets. So it's not just the one sweet, it's like the several sweets. Presidents, it's several sweets out of papers.
Yes, out of papers, strawberries, chocolates, and everything.
Right. Auntie Chinga, sex comes with responsibilities. Do you want to come in there? You are not, you need to unmute. Auntie Chinga, I want us to talk very quickly about sex and responsibilities of having sex. What are the when you make up your mind that you are going to have or be had, whatever, I don't know what you call it, whether you are the sweet or the haver of the sweet or whatever. But when you decide that you're going to have sex, can we talk about what it means to have sex and what could happen, what happens when you have sex? And I want to have Auntie Chinga, I want us to just talk about this for a few moments.
When I talk about sex coming with responsibilities, unfortunately, the responsibilities, most of them later on fall on the men. You may decide then to get into sexual relationship, with sexual relationship, and you end up having a baby. And chances of you being accused of fathering a baby that you didn't are very high, unfortunately. So at the end of the day, you actually have a responsibility towards that little human being who has been born. And one of the responsibilities is to provide child support. So we need to appreciate that for the men, you may end up even providing child support, even for a child who may actually not be yours at the end of the day. And for the young women, in the event that you fall pregnant or you contract an STI, which also a man can also contract, you actually have to bear the burden on your own. You carry that baby for 9 months by yourself. And we actually don't encourage abortions in institutions for firstly because it's not recognized or legally allowed in our law. So what it means is whatever you have to do it by the back door. And until we then have a law or our law allowing people to terminate pregnancies, it means you actually run the risk of health risks. And also at the end of the day, it may actually mean even losing your uterus or having issues that are lifelong or life-threatening. So those are the risks. Sometimes if you fall pregnant, it means you also have to stop school for some while whilst you tend to your pregnancy, whilst you tend to your baby. And for the men, don't think you go scot-free. The long arm of the law will come and catch up with you. At some point, you find yourself paying for child support.
So 3 weeks ago, I took a poll, and I'd like to take that poll again, of what percentage of tertiary institution students are having sex. Could I just have percentages in the chat room whilst I come back to you, Auntie Chinga? Because there are also instances where termination of pregnancy is allowed. Can we quickly touch on the instances where termination of pregnancy is legally permitted in Zimbabwe? You are muted. Please unmute Auntie Chinga.
Yes, there are instances where legally you can terminate, and unfortunately, these instances are limited. Are limited. So, firstly, in our law, like I said, abortion or termination of pregnancy is considered an offense, and that also translates to the person who then makes it possible or the enabler of that termination or abortion. You can both be actually arrested and charged with unlawful termination of pregnancy. But there are instances where I'll just talk of 3. There are instances where termination may be allowed. The first one where the sexual intercourse was unlawful. So, for instance, you get raped and you fall pregnant and you get to know about it before the pregnancy gets to 12 weeks. it can be legally terminated. But it's a long process. It's a very long, lengthy process because the police would then have to come up with a docket that's going to be transmitted to the prosecutor who is in charge of the district where the offense occurred or where the report was made. The prosecutor in charge would then have to assess, and if they are happy, and there's a medical document detailing that there's a pregnancy and that the pregnancy is then the allowed period of termination. They, with the support of the doctor's report, they then have to transmit that report or that application, if it is agreeable, to making the application before the magistrate, to the magistrate who is in charge of the province. And then they will say, go ahead and terminate, and then it goes back through the prosecutor, through the police, back to the hospital. But the instances are where maybe a child, a woman has been raped, and there's the issue of consent or non-consent is not in dispute. Secondly, where the pregnancy is as a result of an incestual relationship. So where they can be proved that this child was made pregnant by their mom, by their dad or by their brother or by their uncle, then it's allowed. And in very rare circumstances where maybe it's also through the same process where you have to make an application to the court for the termination to be allowed, where the woman then has a severe disability or a medical condition that will not allow her to carry that child to term. And we have had instances where even the courts are saying HIV or being HIV positive, or if you are infected with AIDS, it's actually not a medical condition that can allow termination. So those are the instances where one can legally terminate, but it has to be within certain parameters. So whatever the issue is, if the pregnancy is above 12 weeks, up to a maximum of 20 weeks in certain instances, that pregnancy will be allowed to be carried to term. I think we have had of cases where a 9-year-old gave birth, an 8-year-old gave birth, or a 12-year-olds are giving birth, even where they've been raped, because legally a 9-year-old can not consent to sexual intercourse. So ordinarily, that child's pregnancy should be terminated, but because maybe it's discovered when the child is 33 weeks born or over 20 weeks born, they'll carry that pregnancy to term.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have run out of time and we must hand back to the MC. But before we do that, I have a question and I would like answers in the chat box. Are you ready to be parents? I want to see the yeses and the nos. Please put in the chat box, are you ready to be parents? Because if 100% of us, or if 100% Liberty is ready, if 100% are having sex, then it means that technically people are ready to be parents. So I just want to see, as I log off and I say thank you so much to everybody. President Lodwin, we are not done. We will be back to continue with this conversation, but I must hand back because we're out of time. Thank you so much, and thank you for being so interactive. I love you guys. See you soon.
Thank you so much for having me and enjoying Young and Dynamite.
Thank you, Auntie Joyce. Thank you, Lordwin, for joining us. I just thought I would highlight a few comments that I found interesting. So one of them was, I think most men agree that there's no excuse for any sexual offenses. However, that we point the issue of inappropriate dressing doesn't mean we justify sexual harassment. We are just concerned and want our sisters to dress appropriately. That would save them from the vultures and predators. But the moment we advise them, they tell us, Gucci, my dressing, my choice. I found that pretty interesting. And someone else quoted 1 Timothy 2, verse 9 to 10, and it says, I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and appropriately, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds appropriate for women who profess to worship God. That was from Brandon, use it. So I guess we'll be continuing with this topic and discussion next week. Thank you, Auntie, and thank you, Lordwin. Just a few reminders. Please do not forget to like, comment, share on our Facebook page, our society page. And also remember that the Global Intercessors is open 24/7. So please do remember to log in to pray with the others. So yeah, thank you guys for connecting. Until next time, bye.